A complete waste of unbelievable potential. I think that statement right there is probably one of the best ways I can describe Paul Pogba. Because when you look at Paul Pogba and the trajectory that he was going on from a youngster, you would have thought that this kid was going to become one of the greatest midfielders of all time. Because you know what? He had the footballing ability to become that. I think Paul Pogba had so much potential. He had so much potential, and it's honestly a shame. It is honestly sad to see what has happened to Paul Pogba because wow, man. I mean, I feel like his career just took such a nose dive to such a degree that it's actually insane, right? It's actually insane what has happened because when you look at Paul Pogba, especially because the first thing that pops into my head is the Juve days. When you think of Paul Pogba back in his Juve days, I think to myself, oh my God, this man is the definition of what football should be. Someone when he's on the pitch, it's just magical. It's mesmerizing to watch him. Whenever he starts playing, like you see him just do wonders on a football pitch. Someone when you see him, you just find yourself smiling because of how he just seems to entertain you in every aspect of the word. He just finds ways to just make the game look beautiful, enjoyable. You know, in the current state of football, with everything with these systems and specific type of tactics and how everything needs to just work in this specific way, Paul Pogba was an anomaly. He wasn't someone who fitted in a specific system. He was someone who just let him be free, and you'll get the best out of him. You'll see magic on a football pitch. That's someone that Paul Pogba was, man. What happened to him? What happened to someone like Paul Pogba? You know, there's a lot of things that happened to him. There's sadly a lot of things that happened to him, and we're gonna get into it right here, right now. But before we get there, make sure you subscribe to the channel. You know what I'm saying? Welcome back to MKB. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to AKB. Welcome back to Mellow Nose Ball. Now, Paul Pogba is one of the greatest footballing talents I think I've ever laid my eyes on. When you want to talk about footballing ability, I think he is one of the highest in terms of footballing ability because when he had the ball at his feet, in his prime especially, he was unplayable. He was a player you could actually do nothing about. He was one of those players you felt like if you give him just a little bit of space, he's going to create something out of nothing. That's the type of player that Paul Pogba is. When you look at him from his Juve days, especially early Juve days, when you're still a youngster, when you're still donning that number 10, he was a pure definition of what a number 10 was back then. He was unbelievable. He was a talent like unlike any other. He was a player who you really saw that he was gonna go out and become world class, man. But then obviously, as you can see with me making this video and with the foresight that we now have and everything like that, he didn't live up to what we believed that he was going to live up to, because obviously after Juve, he made that decision to go to Man United. And Man United, I think that was kind of where his career really started to really take some sort of a nosedive, right? Because obviously at Man United, he was no longer himself, right? Now, I think that's a combination of a lot of things. I think it's a combination of just him not playing and performing at the consistent level that we saw him at Juve. But at the same time, I do think it was also just Man United and the systems that they were playing at Man United, and the positions he was made to play and the way he was kind of made to play, especially under I think he had like 4 or 5 different managers he had to play under, and in each of those under those managers he had to play in very different roles and had to play very different things. Obviously, even injuries were things that contributed to him not playing very well. I think even players around him were not very good, so that he didn't really get to shine as much. But it's just disappointing to see someone like Paul Pogba not reach the heights that he should have reached, the man, considering that talent. At Man United, at one of the biggest clubs in the world, best part, one of the biggest platforms you can possibly have to become or deemed as a world-class player, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it at Man United. Yes, he had that one season where I think he kind of performed. I think that was when it was a midfield trio of him, Matic, and Ander Herrera. But even then, I think even injuries still again hit him during that season even, and it was just it's disappointing to see him, man, in this state. Because we know the talent is there. We know the ability is there. Like, literally, 2018, I think, is the perfect example to see of Paul Pogba. That World Cup, that 2018 World Cup was Paul Pogba's World Cup. He was one of the best players of that entire campaign. He was someone who completely mesmerized everyone. The performances there. The performances were unbelievable. He was playing like man had his life on the line. Like, he was unbelievable. Game after game after game, goals after goals, assists after assists, performances after performances, controlling of midfield. Like, he was the creative force of that stacked France team. Because when you look at that France team, they had really good players there. Like, obviously the likes of Kylian Mbappe were breaking out prospects. You look at the likes of like Antoine Griezmann, who's still around, kicking, and also one of the best. Like, you look at the likes of N'Golo Kante. He was also another person who was like looking like an unbelievable player at the time. But Paul Pogba was probably the best player of the bunch. He was probably, if not the best, one of the best. And he was probably one of the players who stood out the most, especially scoring in that World Cup final to win them that World Cup. He was unbelievable. And you know what? I'm going to be honest with you guys right here. I'm going to be honest with everyone right now. When you look at Paul Pogba and the talent that Paul Pogba had, when you look at the ability that man had, the way he was just unbelievable in his prime on the pitch, right? I think he is the type of person who had the potential to sit with the likes of Andres Iniesta, to sit or the likes of like Xavi, to sit with the likes of Luka Modric, with the Zinedine Zidanes and everything. I think his potential was that high. I think he had that. And you know what? If he was more consistent, if he played at that same high level that we know he could play at on a more consistent basis and was available for his team consistently, I think people like the likes of Kevin De Bruyne wouldn't be sniffing Paul Pogba. That's a crazy ass statement considering who Kevin De Bruyne is. But I think if someone like Paul Pogba played at his consistent level, at that high level that we know that he could have played at, I think someone like Kevin De Bruyne wouldn't be able to sniff Paul Pogba. I think someone like the Steven Gerrards, the Frank Lampards, I think really Paul Pogba would give them a run for their money. Honestly speaking, he would have sat on table one. He would have sat on table one. Like, it's disappointing to see where his career went, because obviously we know the stories of after he left Man United, right, went back to Juve. We thinking to yourself, you know what, he's gonna be that guy again. He's gonna bring back that magicalness that we saw from his first stint at Juve. But again, it just didn't go his way. The injuries that riddled him. I think he was out for like almost like a year. Just the amount of injuries that happened, and it obviously had that scandal with his brother and everything like that. And then even when he did finally, after working hard to come back on the football pitch, right, he came back. I think the first game he played, the first two games, got injured again, and then he got hit with the ban because of apparently the use of drugs, whatever. And man, at this point his career is practically over. I don't particularly think that Paul Pogba is gonna come back and do anything of notes now, and it's crazy to think, because even though I'm saying all of these things about Paul Pogba, right, I'm saying all of this, but you look at his career, I think he still had an unbelievable career. Like, I think obviously Serie A, obviously I think he's won like obviously a Europa League with Manchester United. Obviously he won the biggest trophy you can win in football, being the World Cup. Like, he has the accolades, to make his career look better. But it could have been so much more. You heard the names that I put him next to. I put him next to the likes of Luka Modric, the likes of Andres Iniesta, Xavi, Toni Kroos. Like, I've put him next to those names because I think generally when you look at his ability, because he had the ability to make it there. The potential was there, but he just couldn't do it. And it's so disappointing. And I think you look at a lot of things now, right? I think a lot of decisions even that he made in his career could have been better, because obviously from that move from Juve, there was an opportunity for him to go to like a Real Madrid or a Barcelona, right? He could have gone there, but he chose Man United, right? When he chose Man United, even then he kind of stunk up the place, but then obviously had that season that really showed that he still is quality. And again, the rumors spiraled again for him going to Real Madrid. he should have went to that Real Madrid team, man. He should have went there, because I think if Paul Pogba went to Real Madrid, we'd be talking about him as a world-class player. We'd be talking about him as one of the greatest players to ever touch pitch. But again, just disappointing, man. It's just disappointing what his career just ended up being, especially with this band. It's just sad to see. Like, as a footballing fan, man, it's sad to see someone of this caliber, player of this caliber, not reaching the heights we all expected him to reach, man. It's really sad to see. It's really sad to see, you know. And he's probably a dying breed, even, of like some of the just mesmerizing footballers of old, you know. Because when you look at the players now, everything's so systematic. Everyone's kind of like a robot, you know, playing with the system and everything like that. And you look at someone like Paul Pogba, someone, the system, you created a system because you're trying to play using him as the best player, right? You would create a system of him. He wouldn't be someone who fits in the system. He was the system. That's the type of player Paul Pogba was, or could have eventually become even. Like, I think he could have become a much greater player than he was, but then obviously we see what happened. So it's a shame to see what happened to him. It's really sad. It's really sad. So I'm very curious to see what your guys' thoughts are when it comes to Paul Pogba. You know, comment down below what you guys think. I mean, I'm grateful to have been able to witness some of his moments of brilliance, but I wish I saw more of him, because he had so much more in him. So subscribe to the channel, everyone. Hit that bell for any post notifications. Like this video and everything like that. And yeah, man, we out.